So, welcome everybody to today's JoDel webinar. It's my absolute pleasure to be hosting for Pratik Sampat, who is going to talk to us all about a new tool which he's developed, which is aligned with the new GCSE vocabulary for AQA and for EdXL. But this tool is appropriate for any language teacher or any language learner, should I say. But for those people who work in England who are particularly looking for resources around the new GCSE, this is amazing. And it's focusing all on speaking, which is something which can be one of the most challenging of the skills, as we all know. And what has been put together here is a great way, in my opinion, of using a tool which is using AI in the background for creating opportunities for students to practice speaking as much as they want to, starting off, let's say in year 7, building it up over time and being able to get lots and lots of homework, speaking homework that they can do, let's say once a week, and really build up that motivation for speaking. And as we know, if the students are happy to speak, it's going to help them in their writing as well, in their listening, in their reading, all 4 skills. So I'm really, really genuinely delighted to be hosting this webinar tonight on the 22nd of June 2026. And without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Pratik, who's going to tell us a little bit about his sort of backstory, why he came up with the idea of YoYo Speak, and then he's going to give us a live demo. In the chat, you will be able to send me any questions. It's helpful for me if you put a Q in front of your question. And once I've handed over to Pratik, I'm going to turn off my video, my microphone, and then I will then carry on letting people in into the session. So over to you, Pratik, and thank you so much for your time today. And I know for a fact, having seen a demo already, we're really in for a treat, everyone. So I will now pass over, and I'll let everyone else in to the waiting from the waiting room into the main session. Over to
Thank
you.
you. Thank you very much, Joe. And thank you all very much for coming along to watch and hear a little bit about YoYo this evening. My name is Pratik. I'm the founder, or one of the 2 co-founders at YoYo Speak. And a little bit of backstory. I was an English teacher myself a long time ago in Mexico, where I taught English using the communicative method. So 100% target language. I didn't actually speak any Spanish at the time. And that's just how the school worked. And the students would come in week after week and just repeat the language, repeat the sentences, repeat the questions until they built a strong enough vocabulary to be able to use the language functionally. The idea behind that always stuck with me. It inspired my wife's business, who teaches Spanish to young children using a very similar method of just target language. It's kind of first language acquisition theory speaking. And then after kind of working in a few different fields, I've kind of come back to language now with the support of what we're able to do with the tech that's available to us. And we've turned this, my co-founder and I, Ben and I, have turned this into a very straightforward application that allows students to practice speaking every single week. So whatever the subject matter is at hand, you can put a short prompt into the platform or upload a document, and it will then generate phrases for the children to practice in their own time, either on a laptop or on a phone, if they have an access to a phone and can download apps. That's briefly where we are. And today will be a short demo running you through the whole process. Hopefully it all goes well. This is a live demo on a live platform. Very briefly, GDPR, data protection are obviously critical when dealing with schools and children's personal information, and it really has been built into the core of what we do. There's the children's names are fully pseudonymized. They're sent to for processing without any identifying information. The files are deleted immediately. The only data we store is the performance of each child, which is just an alphanumeric kind of series of numbers. There's no international transfer of data, and there's no generative AI per se in the front of the application. So we use AI in the back to facilitate the production of the phrases and the pronunciation scoring. But in terms of the Department for Education guidance, we don't fall under kind of the Gen AI kind of issues that schools are facing kind of right now. Um, and the paperwork is very much DPO ready and ready to kind of roll out in as any secondary school that would like to give it a try. So that is a very brief intro. And as I said, we're just going to roll into a little demo of the application. Um, as Joe said, please, if you do have any questions, do drop them into the chat. I'll take a breath in a moment and ask Joe if we have any, and then we can kind of carry on and go from there. So what you're looking at now is the teacher view. It's kind of the dashboard for YoYo Speak, which is a demo school. So there's no real data in here. These aren't real students. We just a model, a school we use to do demonstrations with. You've got the various classes that you have set up. So at the moment, we've set up a French class and a Spanish class. There's some basic information about kind of the school itself. And actually, what I'm going to do first is actually just create a new class from scratch. And it's going to be a Spanish Year 8 class. Year 8. And it's going to be in Spanish. We cover all three main, in fact, we cover more than three, but we cover the main three MFL languages, which is Spanish, French, and German. So we'll add our Year 8 class. We're going to go through and actually, hold on, we're going to go to our new Year 8 class and we are going to add a teacher to the class. So once the school has been signed up and the paperwork is passed and signed by the DPO on by both parties, then YoYo itself will set the school up and then it will then create the first teacher. And in this case, we're going to set Joe up as our Spanish teacher. So hopefully his Spanish is up to scratch. So Joe is our head. Joe will be our head MFL teacher at YoYo Speak. And we will create him a username of Joe. We don't actually use the children's name in the app, so we'll just call that Sky911. There's no password here, so you don't have forgetting passwords and resetting passwords. We use one-off kind of activation codes. And we're going to set Joe up as a teacher admin on this school. So under the normal Speak 2. Under the normal Joe 2. Do you know why? Because I've already set him up as a teacher somewhere else. Okay, fantastic. Right. We're not going to be able to set up Joe as a teacher today, but we'll call him Joe Smith. Let's set up Mark. As I said, we are in a live environment and we were playing with setting up teachers and students earlier on, but not to worry. We're going to go on and we're going to actually add some of our students to our class over here. Bear with me 1 second. So we're going to go to our Spanish class. We're going to bring in some students. There are two ways to load students into the platform. You can add them one by one. So if you have a class existing already and you have a new student, you can add them from here. Or we can create a very simple upload file, first name, the first initial of the surname, a username, and an activation code. So we will upload so here we've got 6 students that we're adding to our first class, our Year 8 Spanish class, I should say. Okay, great. So we're in, and now the first thing that we do is we're going to add a piece of homework for this class. So the thesis and the North Star behind YoYo is very much the sooner the children speak, the more confidence they have, the more they'll learn, the more they'll enjoy the language. So we're very much working with schools who believe believe in that view, and will set this as kind of a regular piece of homework for their students. So in this example, I've actually prepared a short series of Spanish phrases that I've had from a previous lesson. And I'm gonna just simply type those phrases into here, paste those phrases in, um, and let YoYo do its thing. I could also just type in here, create me 10 phrases about football or about sports, or about shopping, but we're going to go ahead and create the first batch of phrases for you to look at.
While we're waiting for that to happen, Pratik, we've had a question for the chat about whether Italian is one of the languages that YoYo Speak offers.
I would need to double check with you. I believe we can. The focus is very much being on the French, German, and Spanish. But I can let you know.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you. Thank you for the question as well. Keep your questions coming. That'd be great.
So here you are. Those are the phrases that we've uploaded. The computer's taken in and translated them. You can kind of
Juego al fútbol los sábados.
So it's created the voice file, the audio file for those phrases. And so we're set. We've begun our year 8 class and we've uploaded our first homework. And now I'm going to log you in as one of the students from that list we just created. So I'm just going to log us in as Claire, who had the user ID Sunset777, and then the user ID was, what was it? So I'm going to hopefully be able to log us in as a student in the year 8 class. So this is the student view, and I'll also show you the app view in a moment as well. So these are the phrases we've just created. So if I go into here, you'll see these are the phrases I just uploaded into the application. So Claire would kind of finish the work in the class.
Juego al fútbol los sábados.
She'll,
Juego al fútbol los sábados.
she'll get to hear it. Juego al fútbol los sábados. All right, that was a really good first attempt. So if she did that, she'll be great. She'll kind of get some feedback on her attempt, and then she'll try the next one.
Me gusta mucho el tenis.
And then me gusta tenis. So that wasn't quite right. So she's missed a couple of words and she needs to kind of go back and retry that before she carries on going on to the next batch of phrases. So you can see a very quick example of how that works. And it will give a little note here to the student in terms of what they need to do and what they need to work on. And actually, if you give me one moment, I'm just going to log in on my phone and then share my phone screen with you. And we can see this is Sunset 777. So we're just going to log her into the device, and then we can let me just So this is the screen. This is what she'd see when she first logs in. So it gives them a quick overview of the app itself, and then you can see that this is the homework that she has been set. So I can't use it from here because it can't use the microphone from my laptop, but this shows you that this was the phrase that she completed, and these are the ones that she's due to complete over here. So go there, and then where the students had revision set or alternative pieces of dictation practice that would all be visible from this screen over here. and then they can see what their percentage is or how their participation percentage and what the class has done as well. So that's a quick look at the phone. We can also upload homework directly from a document. So if you've got any worksheets, this is kind of a sentence builder type worksheet that I've created from the standard kind of high frequency words, and have just brought in for one of my kind of key stage 3 classes. So we're going to add that to the app. We're going to create the homework from that. If the students have it on their phone, it will appear as homework as a notification, so they can kind of click on that and then it opens the app, similar to kind of normal notifications or desktop notifications if they have those switched on as well. Do, do, do. It's just taking a minute whilst it creates those phrases.
While it's doing that, we do have some questions. Are you happy to?
Oh, yeah, perfect timing. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So thank you so much, everyone, for your questions. So the first question we had was, as a teacher admin, can you listen back to their recordings, or are they deleted once a student does it?
They are deleted immediately. Yes. As soon as they're processed, they're deleted. So you can not hear them afterwards. So again, very much core and central to the data privacy side of things.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
What you can see as a teacher is the number of attempts tried on each individual phrase and the score on each individual phrase as well. So you can very much track along with their participation and their effort, but not actually hear the phrases.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. I would imagine, I mean, my gut feeling is I would imagine there'd be some people would be thinking, oh, I'd like to hear the recordings, but at the same time, I understand what you're saying in relation to data protection. So I think it's a fine line, isn't it, between keeping everybody happy, isn't it, I guess?
I think the decision we made very early was that it's the nature of it, the nature of an audio file is kind of far too sensitive. So this is the approach we've taken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So the next question is, also, does it tell you how many times a student has clicked retry and give a list of their previous scores, or just the best score?
You can see all the attempts made, the number of attempts made, and the score per attempt,
Okay,
or an average.
great. And then, will it pick up on subtle mistakes, e.g., endings?
It is quite sensitive. It's not perfect. It's not perfect. I mean, it is at the end of the day a pronunciation scoring engine. So it will pick up, I would say, like a high percentage of subtle mistakes, probably kind of between 80 and 90, but it's not perfect. It's not a kind of human ear teaching, listening to the pronunciation. What we have seen where we have classes where teachers want to push high level students, they'll often split a class. Let's say it's a year 10 class, 10M, they'd split it into 10M foundation and 10M higher. And then the teachers would then just use much harder phrases for the higher group than for the lower group, in terms of challenging and pushing students to kind of, in essence, forcing them to use more vocabulary or longer responses.
Yeah, I really like that feature, I must say. It's wonderful. And then the last question, which is sort of what you covered already, which is simply what about pronunciation mistakes? But I think you probably answered that one already. Would you say, or is there anything else you'd like to add about how the platform deals with pronunciation and the sort of feedback that you receive?
Yeah, well, I can do it. I can just show you. Let me see if I
Yeah, let's
can.
let's do it. Let's just do
Yeah,
it. Thank you so much, everyone, for your questions. Keep them coming. I'm sure you're very impressed. I certainly am by how this has been put together, and it's straightforward, but it's so useful. I think for doing exactly what we want, giving the students the opportunity to practice and practice and practice with their speaking and build their confidence over time. And I think this is generally going to be very helpful for sure.
Yeah, so the second, just to show you, so we're still in kind of Claire's login, which is the sunset. We've got these two pieces of homework. The second one I just uploaded from the PDF was actually about families and photos. So if I go into there, I can see the sentences, it's the phrases it's created and put in there. They're all directly from the PDF. If the PDF was just an information sheet talking about a particular subject, the AI in the back end will just create appropriate phases for the language and the year. So it knows it's kind of year 8, so it's kind of targeting at that level. Or you can specifically ask it to focus on a particular area or make it extremely hard if you wanted to. Um,
Mi familia es grande y cariñosa.
Mi familia es grande y cariñoso. So it gave me a good score, but it's hopefully picked up the pronunciation failing on cariñoso. So if you can see here, it's grayed it out. So it heard it, but you can tell that it wasn't precise. That answers your question. And this score here, where it passes it, is actually set at an individual school level, and I will show you that in a moment. So it could hear the word, but it's kind of grayed it out because the pronunciation wasn't great. So then a student would have the ability to sort of try that again. Mi familia es grande y cariñosa. And then hopefully on the second time round, definitely got a better score there, and hopefully it was green. So that's kind of how the pronunciation engine is working in the background. So let's go back to here. So we're still in our year 8 class. Homework is kind of the main feature. Well, I say that. Homework is obviously, I think, the most important element of what YoYo can bring, which is the regular cadence of speaking and being used to speaking on a weekly basis. Homework, as you can see in this profile here, it only ever shows the most recent one. She can click down and see, the students can click down and see the prior ones, for example, which was the sports. Because this changes weekly or bi-weekly. Revision is an evergreen space where you can put on assessments for the end of the year or the end of the term. And also, a very great feature is we're going to add a year 8 dictation assessment. So this is a listening listening practice. So we're going to add in, we're going to just going to kind of whack a phrase in here. The category is the year 8 assessment, and this is listening. So we're going to generate a listening assessment for the class as well. You just have to excuse this. There's a little bug in the background that's it says French for everything, even though it's clearly not French.
Me gusta mucho el tenis, ¿eh? Me gusta mucho el tenis, ¿eh?
Let me just refresh that. So when she logs back in again or she goes onto her phone, she'll be able to kind of go into the assessment.
Me gusta mucho el tenis, ¿eh?
Me gusta mucho al tenis. So you hear it, write it down, and then the computer tells you very close, but obviously I didn't get that quite right. Just do that again. Gusta mucho el tenis. There we go. So we have the there, and then just so you can kind of see it on the phone as well. So now that she goes in, she'll have the let me reconnect to my phone.
While it's doing that, shall I put another couple of questions to you, or do you want to carry on with this bit?
No, please go for it. It's
Is
just
that okay?
connecting. It just syncs up.
Right. So a few more questions. The first one, classic onboarding question. Do students need to create accounts using their emails?
Absolutely not. No, they're very. I can actually show you a setup sheet. We're here now, actually. So this was just the dictation we just put in there in a moment, um, which is going to appear here in a moment. Yeah. So here's the dictation we just added a moment ago for this class. The there's no school emails, there's no personal emails. This is an example sheet of what we create for our classes. So we normally get sent registers on Excel, and then we'll create one of these pages where we create the student name, which is the first name initial, the username, which is anonymized, unique to them, and then the one-off activation code that they then just use to log in once and they stay logged in. So no emails, no passwords.
Fantastic. And those were all dummy names, etc., that you just showed
All
us.
dummy names, all dummy details. Yeah, absolutely.
Just to clarify, if anyone's like going, "Oh my word," yeah, no, that's all fine. Class Purple, Year 9 is all made up. They're not real people. Okay. Next
Yeah.
question is, can you add a task but only for specific students, e.g., targeted intervention?
No, you'd have to add them as a separate class. So the homework that you saw me add, the two pieces of the homework that I added, the Spanish phrases was the sports ones that I kind of dropped into here, and then families and photos was the PDF I uploaded, would go to all of the classes. So what students, what would, if we had to add, say, year 8 higher Spanish because you wanted to really push a class, then you would just simply create a new class. And then from here, you would then have higher, and then you could then add your specific homework from here, which could then be something kind of really challenging for a year 8 student.
I understand. That's great. Thank you. So that's really nice for differentiation, isn't it? I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
challenging. So some really challenging phrases for a year 8 student on traveling in the future.
You've got, okay. I was going to say you've got a few more A's in challenging that you need to have, but that's okay. Everyone understands. It's all right. It's my teacher I in me, you see. While it's doing that as well, we had the question, the last one so far. Can you change the speed for the sound file?
Great question. It's actually feedback we've had before. At the moment, we haven't got that, but it's very much on the roadmap, and soon students will be able to make it slightly quicker or quicker or slower.
So is that something that the student could choose, or is that something that the teacher could choose for them?
It wouldn't be set by it. If it happened, it would happen here at the student level.
Okay.
So if if student was going in and you were hearing
En mi familia hay 4 personas.
so we've sort of defaulted this as slightly slower than standard speaking. But if we had a speed option, it would be at the individual student level, phrase level. Um, because what happens at a class level happens for everyone in that class.
That's great. And then talking of sort of like roadmaps, we've had another question. Can we create interactive speaking activities like role plays, or is it sort of focusing on pronunciation practice?
So again, very much on the roadmap. This was just an example we just looked at earlier. I'll come back to that. This is just the example we looked at earlier when I just asked it to create some advanced phrases. So, and that was literally just by the prompt I added to create some advanced phrases for year 8, and you can see what it's come up with. They are pretty advanced, obviously. You might not want to use all of those, but just to give you that example. The Yes. So what we're working on, if this was talking about sports, once the students finished these 10 phrases and they were comfortable, they would then enter into a conversation, a very kind of heavily guardrailed conversation on sports with, say, for example, a PE teacher. And it would be about participating or trying harder or enjoying something or not enjoying something or wanting to change the sport. So it will build from, so not just the basic vocabulary, YoYo itself will then kind of create the sentence structure they need to be able to have that conversation. So that would be that's a natural evolution of the app. Yes. Doesn't do it yet, but it will do soon.
That would be amazing, I think. And I'm sure you've said about this already, but I've spent a lot of time monitoring the waiting room, etc. Have you explained about the whole new GCSE vocabulary alignment with AQA and EdXL, or how you were able to sort of put that into play within YoYo Speak? Because I think that's a really key feature for those teachers working in England, because I'm sure everyone is looking for resources which are aligned with the new GCSE vocabulary. So the fact that that is the case with YoYo Speak is wonderful. But as I said in the introduction, that doesn't mean that people who are not following the English curriculum, it's still very, very relevant for you as well.
So yeah, absolutely. The kind of phrase generation engine has access to all the high frequency words and will use all the high frequency words in a kind of structured, repetitive manner, depending on the phrases that you're asking it to create. Um, Year 7 to 9, we haven't kind of focused too much on AQA versus EdXL because they're kind of very, very similar. For year 10 and 11, when you set the school up, you tell YoYo if you're AQA and EdXL. And a year 10 and a year 11 class would then have slightly nuanced, different approaches to how the phrases are constructed. So AQA kind of more flexible and personal comms, and EdXL is kind of more kind of careful vocab and sort of grammar mapping. So they come into play for Key Stage 4, and they're set at a school level.
Fantastic, amazing. I just think that's so wonderful to see how you've done that. It's wonderful. We've got a few more questions. Are you happy to take a few more questions right now?
Yeah, please.
Is that okay? So, okay, we've got three questions from the same person. Thank you so much for sending these in. First of all, who is responsible for adding students to each class? So if you could answer that one, but then maybe talk about the special offer we're going to give to attendees today as well in relation to that sort of onboarding process, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. So the general process is when a school has been set up on YoYo, there'll be one administrator at the school, and we will kind of work with that administrator and train them to use YoYo and set up classes. Um, and as you saw earlier, it's just a simple upload, and then off they go and they create that page with the activation codes. But as Joe just mentioned, for everyone here who would like to start a pilot trial, we will actually happily run that administration process for you. So once we've set up the school, you can simply send us your registers. Obviously, once all the paperwork signed, the data protection, etc., is all kind of signed, and it's a no cost pilot. But we'll then actually administer the setup process for you, including creating the activation codes. And yeah, so you can just crack on. And we're all going to offer that to the first kind of 10 schools that go live after this webinar.
Amazing. So if you're interested in having that process managed for you, I would strongly suggest getting in touch with Pratik. Will you put your contact details in the chat? Is that, or we can send it through when I send everyone a message in Eventbrite. What we can do is we can include the contact details with that message. That's probably
Yeah, absolutely fine.
if that's okay. So on the same point from the same person, we've got the next question. Can students be added and or removed at any point during the school year?
Yes, they can be. So if we were in here and we had a late addition to the class, we could come through and we could add Mark Y and this is his default language. Oh, we didn't actually talk about this, but if he had a different default language, we could create it. He would view it in that particular default language. But in this case, we'll just simply add him as a user, and he can be added as a user. And then if Rob had left the school, we could go through and delete Rob as well at any point in time.
Fantastic. And then the next question, which comes to mind, this is not one that anyone's put in the chat, but if you had, let's say, a year 7 class who would then all move up to year 8, is that process simple to transfer the information, or is there anything that teachers have to do? Or is that simply a question of changing the name so all the students in, let's say, that particular class go into year 8? Or if you have mixed ability in year 7 and then they're all in groups, in sets, as it were, in year 8, is it easy to carry on the scoring, the percentage, and the progression that students have made from one year group to a next?
It's the data is always available. The reality of it is teachers would just kind of really simply start the new year and they'll just create new classes for the new years. But the data is always available and always accessible to the school. So if a student started in year 7, they'd be able to see their scores in history, and then in year 8 they're in a new class, year 8 higher, for example. Um, the year 7 data stays in the year 7 class, but it will still be accessible. And actually, if it was something that would be useful for teachers, we could even look at kind of making that accessible across classrooms, because the data's there. And
Yeah, I think it might be quite nice, particularly in relation to building up confidence, if the students could see, if you like, a 4-year streak, or how they've made progress over time. That could be, I think, very motivational.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a really good point. Oh, and we can enable automated updates for parents as well, if that is if schools would like that. So they can receive emails about their child's spoken progress.
Brilliant. Um, I know you touched upon that language feature just a moment ago. Can you just clarify? Do you mean that the interface can be in a different language, or is that what that feature is? All
The translation, so how you can see the translation here. So for Claire, her default language is English, but if she was Italian, the translation will be in Italian.
I understand. Wow, that's very very useful. I think very flexible, particularly if you're working with students who don't have English as their first language. This could be, yeah,
Yeah.
that's really
If
brilliant.
Rob, for
If you can do
example,
that. Yeah.
so if Rob, for example, was actually Czech and you were to log in as Rob, you would see that homework translated into Czech.
Amazing, amazing. So we've got more questions coming in now. The next one was, I think you've answered this, but we'll just go over this again quickly. Can homework or tasks be differentiated within the same class, or does every student receive the same assignments? I think you sort of answered that already, really, but do you want to just clarify?
Yeah, everyone receives the same assignments. So there's two ways to, because it's set at a class level. So you either split your class in two and have, say, higher and foundation, or you would set homework twice, but then some kids do one homework and some kids do another homework. Um, but the homework is set at a class level.
Okay, okay. And then we have another question. Would you say that the read aloud sort of activity and the dictation activity are at present the main skills that YoYo Speak is focusing on, or because you're talking about including role plays and things like that in the future, that's obviously the next progression. But in relation to supporting speaking, would you say those are the main features, e.g., helping with read aloud and dictation and pronunciation practice?
That is very much the focus, yeah.
Yeah, which is fine, and I think that's wonderful. I think you can get tools which have many, 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 many features, and then people get absolutely overwhelmed by the number of things it can do. what I like about YoYo Speak is it's the core features are very straightforward, and I think really um, catered to a very important skill. That's why I think it's so useful. That's great.
Yeah, very much. It's always kind of been our view that YoYo could kind of integrate into any existing teacher workflow. It just is the first time structured speaking homework can be set and assessed with no additional marking.
Hmm.
So all the scores, all the output, teachers have no additional marking. They'll just appear in the dashboard here. As you can see, Claire, which was Sunset 7777, which was who we're logged in as here, you can see sort of her score and the vocab word she's covered off and what her average score is so far. And obviously there was no marking involved. And it's the first time that a teacher's been able to do that. And
And
again,
I think that's brilliant because there were lots of tools out there focusing on, say, reading or writing, which give automatic feedback. But to have a tool which focuses on speaking with automatic feedback means that the student can practice as much as they need to, and the more they practice, the better I'm sure they would get, or the more confident that they feel. And I think that's a real win, I must say. Now, now we've had another question in relation to costs. So, is there a minimum student sign up, and what is the cost per student? Do you want to just clarify the approach to if you're working in a big school or a small school, or is it down to the number of students or departments, or could you
there's
clarify?
um, there's no minimum. We have had schools with as little as two classes that have reached Key Stage 4. And again, we've had schools that are huge and have kind of six classes per year group. And then the pricing is kind of very inside the standard ed tech range, like per student year as it's priced. And it's extremely like reasonable and well priced. I mean, that's never been an issue for any of our schools.
So, if people want to find out the pricing, they can just basically go to the website, and will there be like a menu for pricing, or how would people find out how much it was, or how it
It
works exactly?
is we're just when they speak to us as we go through
Okay.
the sign up and the setup process.
Okay, because essentially you're still sort of you're still working with only a few schools, but if you, as a result of this webinar and other promotion, if you get then many more schools signing up, then maybe that sort of model will change, or you'll be agile with the pricing. But I think that's very sensible. So if people want to know exactly how it work in the particular context that people are in, contact Pratik on the website, and then based on your contacts, he will then be able to give you a quote, or maybe if you're one of the first 10 schools, he'll hold your hand with the whole process, and you could trial it with one or two classes, and then just go from there and see if it makes a real difference. But I would imagine it would do. I must say, I would imagine it very much would do with that sort of encouragement. I think could be very useful indeed, for sure. So we haven't got any more questions yet, but I would love to see any more questions coming in. Is there anything else you wanted to show us, Pratik? Or have you covered the
Um,
main
that
features?
really, yeah, no, that does cover the main features. We're back in here inside the teacher dashboard. Um, I didn't show you this, but you can set up your notifications here. So this might just be like a homework set, and then please complete this week's phrases. And this is for homework set, and the notification is immediate, and you add that. So on the phone itself or on the desktop, they'll get a little notification saying homework is set. And again, if they hit the top of the class, they'll get a little notification if you want to set that one. Um, we've got some thresholds here. We've got some handicaps. So if French is actually interesting, someone asked about sensitivity around pronunciation. It turns out that the French pronunciation, the bar on French pronunciation is just naturally higher than Spanish. So there's a kind of a handicap here, which makes it slightly easier to pass, or this is kind of the base. Um, and then you can choose where your pass thresholds are and what your lower thresholds are. So you're below your lower threshold, we don't give a score. So we wouldn't tell a student they got a 32, we'd just say try again. If they get between a 50 and an 80, we would give them feedback, but we would ask them to do it again. And then if they get above an 80, we pass them to the next phrase with the feedback, as you saw.
Yeah, I really like that. So I like the way in which you can choose the difficulty level based on the class. So it's almost like, we talk about the classic sympathetic native speaker or listener in this context, and then you can sort of make that listener more demanding by raising the difficulty level. I think that's really good because there are some students who will love that challenge, won't they? That will love to be tested, and particularly if the teacher is sort of transparent about it, saying, "I'm going to raise the difficulty level, see if you can still get a good mark." But at the same time, for some students, you want the difficulty level to be lowered so they're not put off and it becomes counterproductive. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I
So
think
I've got
I think that's the end of the demo. I don't know if we have any more questions there,
yeah,
Joe.
we don't have any more questions, but I'd really encourage anyone while we're still all here to put any more questions in the chat if you'd like to. But it's been wonderful. It's been really, 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 really interesting. I think how it all works, and yeah. So the first 10 people who get in contact with Pratik can have a trial, and and YoYo Speak will go through the whole onboarding process with you, which is just wonderful news. So it looks like there are no more questions. So I'm going to turn my video back on just to prove I have
Well,
been here.
actually, sorry, there was just one more thing on the trial or stroke pilot period, Joe. It's a totally free of charge pilot without any commitment. So yeah, just really encourage you to get in touch either via the website or Joe will share my details over email
Mhm.
and we can have a chat and get you set up. Just really keen for the kids to start speaking the language. I think it will make just such a huge difference to how they approach kind of MFL as they progress through school.
I agree. So just to clarify the offer, are we saying that the first 10 people who get in contact with you can have a free trial with the onboarding, or are we saying that people watching this recording in a few months' time, let's say all those 10 places have gone, would they be able to have a trial for free to test how it works? And then if they then want to go for it, they then have to pay, the monthly amount, as it were.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So that's great. So if you watch this video and you're focusing on speaking in 6 months' time, you can still have a free trial and give it a go. Would you have an idea how long that trial would be? Would it be like a month?
Generally half a term. So
There you
if we
go.
were to start in September, we'd have kind of 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And it could be the whole year group, it could be some select classes, but very much focused around kind of key. So what we have learned is that the sooner they start speaking, sooner the children start speaking, the easier it is. So year seven, year eight, ideal. Year 10 and 11, great, also good, but harder to get them to change their habits.
Yeah.
But if they are doing it every single week, like they are on Sparks or anything similar, then it just sticks much more.
That's amazing. And you've had such good success, haven't you, from the trials that you've done already with the percentage of the students saying how much they felt that it had built up their confidence over time. I think that was very, very interesting, the stats you had around that. And yeah, I would just encourage everyone to give it a go, contact Pratik. So would that just be like the next step? So I can give everyone the contact details in the Eventbrite, and then they just get in touch. You have that in that meeting where you sign the different data privacy agreements, etc. And then from there, once that's been approved by the principal in your school or your MAT, etc., and then with YoYo Speak, and then you get going with the onboarding once everyone's happy. Is that right?
Yep, exactly that.
Perfect.
Exactly.
Perfect. Okay, so I don't think there are any more questions. So I'd just like to take the opportunity of thanking everyone for their understanding coming into the meeting. And I think it's been well worth everyone's time. And I'm sure that everyone watching the recording as well will find it fascinating. If you want to know anything, if you want to get in touch with Pratik and ask him some more questions, if you haven't had the opportunity to ask your question here, or you've had to think about it after watching the recording, maybe again, and then you want to get in touch with Pratik, you'll be able to do that very, very, very simply with the contact details that I will be providing. And thank you so much, everyone, for coming along. I really, really appreciate it, particularly on such a still quite warm here on the Isle of Wight. So you know you've spent an hour with us, and it's very much appreciated. So I will send everybody the recording probably tonight, I think, and we'll then go from there. And I'll obviously do a long summary as per normal, picking out the highlights of the webinar, which I'll put on my Facebook group and on LinkedIn and on X and on Blue Sky as well. So thank you so much, Pratik. Was there anything else you wanted to say as your sort of your final elevator pitch, or do you feel you've covered everything you wanted to say?
I think we're good.
Yeah, I think
Thank you so much, Joe, for hosting and just being wonderful.
that's okay. No problem at all. I genuinely think that what you've built here is really exciting, and it really is something which could really make a difference. So I'd just encourage everyone to give it a go. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Pratik, for your time. I will stop the recording right now, and I will upload it as soon as we finish the meeting.